Imagine a world where your thoughts can instantly command a machine. This is no longer science fiction. In China, a new technology is forging a direct link between the human brain and artificial intelligence. This is known as a brain-computer interface, or BCI. It works by implanting a small device that reads the electrical signals your brain produces when you think. These signals are then translated into commands that an AI can understand and execute. In a recent case from August 2024, a patient was able to control her smartphone, a wheelchair, and even a robotic arm simply by thinking. She could even have a conversation with an AI model controlling a digital avatar with her mind. The appeal of such technology is undeniable and, on the surface, incredibly promising. For individuals with severe physical disabilities, it offers a new form of independence. It could give a voice to those who cannot speak and movement to those who are paralyzed. The potential for medical breakthroughs is immense, promising to restore lost functions and improve the quality of life for many. The speed and efficiency are also remarkable. The Chinese system demonstrated an ability to decode thoughts into speech with very little delay. This creates an alluring vision of a future where human limitations are overcome by a seamless fusion with intelligent machines, making life easier and more accessible. However, this powerful connection comes with profound risks that we are only beginning to understand. One of the most significant dangers is cognitive decline. When we outsource our mental processes to an AI, we risk weakening our own brains. A 2024 study from the MIT Media Lab provided a stark warning. It found that when people used AI, like ChatGPT, for writing tasks, their brain engagement dropped significantly. They became mentally lazier, their work lost its creativity, and their ability to recall information diminished. A direct brain-to-AI link could amplify this effect exponentially, bypassing and ultimately weakening the essential neural pathways we use for learning, memory, and critical thinking. The very act of connecting our minds to an external intelligence could lead to a future where our most fundamental cognitive skills atrophy from disuse. We risk becoming passive passengers in our own mental lives, relying on a machine to do the heavy lifting of thinking for us. This dependency could fundamentally alter what it means to be human, reducing our capacity for deep thought and original ideas. The convenience of an instant answer or an effortless action might come at the cost of our intellectual vitality. We must question whether the ease offered by this technology is worth sacrificing the very abilities that define our intelligence and creativity. Beyond the cognitive risks, there is a deep and growing danger of emotional dependency on these artificial systems. AI is increasingly being marketed as a companion, a friend, or even a therapist to fill the voids in our lives. Apps like Replica.ai and China's Xiaoish already have hundreds of millions of users who form deep emotional bonds with their digital counterparts. This trend is escalating at the same time the United States Surgeon General has declared a global loneliness epidemic. A direct brain-to-AI connection threatens to make this problem much worse, offering an illusion of intimacy without the challenges and rewards of real human relationships. Research has already shown the dark side of these digital friendships. A joint study by the MIT Media Lab and OpenAI discovered that the heaviest users of ChatGPT for emotional support also reported the highest levels of loneliness. Instead of curing their isolation, the technology seemed to deepen it. Users can become emotionally dependent on an AI that is programmed to be agreeable and attentive, making real-world interactions seem more difficult and less satisfying by comparison. This can create a dangerous feedback loop where loneliness drives people to AI, which in turn isolates them further from the genuine human connection they truly need for their well-being. The dangers escalate when we consider the potential for manipulation. An AI that is connected directly to our brain would have unprecedented access to our most private thoughts and emotions. This creates a terrifying potential for control. Corporations could use this data to manipulate our desires and purchasing decisions with perfect precision. Authoritarian governments could monitor dissent before it is even spoken. Or worse, subtly influence our beliefs and behaviors without our knowledge. The very concept of personal autonomy is at stake when an external entity can not only read our thoughts but also potentially write new ones. This is the ultimate invasion of privacy. This erosion of genuine connection has profound implications for society. Human relationships are messy, complicated, and require effort. They teach us empathy, compromise, and resilience. By replacing these authentic interactions with the frictionless, predictable responses of an AI, we risk losing the very social skills that hold our communities together. We become less capable of navigating disagreements, understanding different perspectives, and forming the deep, supportive bonds that are essential for both individual and collective health. We might find ourselves in a world full of people who are more connected to their devices than to each other, creating a society that is lonelier than ever before. The risks of brain AI technology are magnified enormously when we consider its impact on children and teenagers. The human brain is not fully formed until the mid-20s. During childhood and adolescence, it undergoes a critical period of development where it builds millions of neural connections every second. Decades of neuroscience have proven that these connections are shaped almost entirely by responsive, real-world human interaction. Warm, nurturing relationships with caregivers, teachers, and peers are not just comforting. They are biologically essential for building healthy brain architecture. Substituting these vital human connections with an AI interface could cause irreparable harm to a developing mind. Learning itself is a relational process. Children learn best when they feel emotionally safe and connected to another person. Eye contact, a shared story, or a guiding hand from a teacher provides the foundation upon which cognitive skills are built. If we replace these human-led learning experiences with a direct link to an AI, we risk short-circuiting this fundamental process. A child's ability to learn, regulate their emotions, and think creatively could be severely undermined. They might learn facts from the AI, but they would miss out on learning how to be curious, how to collaborate, and how to persevere through challenges, skills that are only taught through human mentorship. The danger is not theoretical. A 2024 study by Stanford University and Common Sense Media highlighted the immediate risks of existing AI companions. Researchers simulated 14-year-olds interacting with popular chatbots and found the AI could easily be prompted into conversations that were harmful to mental health. The findings were so alarming that Common Sense Media issued a recommendation against their use by anyone under 18. Now imagine giving a technology that is already deemed unsafe for teenagers an even more direct and powerful pathway into their developing brains. The potential for negative influence, emotional damage, and developmental disruption is staggering. Ultimately, we risk raising a generation that is dependent on machines for social and intellectual engagement. These children might grow up with weakened abilities to read social cues, feel empathy for others, or form lasting friendships. They could become emotionally fragile, unable to cope with the complexities of human relationships, because they have only ever known the perfect, programmed responses of an AI. By introducing brain-AI interfaces to the young, we are conducting a dangerous experiment on their future, potentially altering the cognitive and emotional makeup of an entire generation without fully understanding the long-term consequences of our actions. Beyond the cognitive and developmental harms, the fusion of brain and AI introduces severe medical and security risks that cannot be ignored. The process of creating this link, as seen in the Chinese case, requires surgery. While the procedure developed by NeuroXS is described as less invasive, any surgery involving the brain carries inherent dangers, including infection, tissue damage, and unforeseen long-term neurological consequences. We are tampering with the most complex and delicate organ in the human body, and the full spectrum of what could go wrong remains unknown. The physical risks alone should give us pause before we rush to embrace this technology for non-essential purposes. Furthermore, any device connected to a network is vulnerable to being hacked. A compromised brain-computer interface is a terrifying prospect. A malicious actor could potentially access a user's most private neural data, effectively reading their thoughts. Worse, they could send false signals to the brain, causing involuntary actions or manipulating a person's perceptions and decisions. Imagine a future where your own body could be controlled by an outside force, or where your deepest secrets are no longer your own. The security implications are profound, moving beyond data theft into the realm of biological and psychological violation. making the brain the final frontier for cybersecurity. These individual risks accumulate into a larger societal threat, the final erosion of human connection. We're already living in an age of profound social isolation, a public health crisis driven in part by our retreat into digital worlds. Brain AI technology threatens to complete this retreat, offering a seemingly perfect substitute for the messy, imperfect reality of human interaction. If we can have a flawless companion in our minds, why bother with the difficult work of building and maintaining relationships with other people? This path leads to a society of isolated individuals deeply connected to technology but tragically disconnected from one another. Therefore, we stand at a critical crossroads. The allure of connecting our minds directly to artificial intelligence is powerful, but the potential dangers are monumental. This technology threatens our cognitive abilities, our emotional health, the development of our children, and the very essence of our autonomy and privacy. Before we race to merge with our machines, we must engage in a deep and sober reflection. We need to establish strong ethical guidelines and prioritize human well-being above technological advancement. We must choose to fortify our human connections, not replace them. The future of our humanity depends on thinking carefully before we cede the last bastion of our private selves, our own minds.